Another notch in the culture war belt for Justin Trudeau as he removes Remembrance Day prayer. This coming from the Epoch Times with an exclusive here. Military tells chaplains no prayers at official events as Remembrance Day approaches. This article was written by Noise Chartier. Go check him out on Twitter. He's always doing really good work here. Canadians about to attend Remembrance Day ceremonies across the country could come across different proceedings from what they're used to, as military has told its chaplain service that religious prayer in official public functions is now forbidden. We've really actually gone this far in this culture war, removing prayer from Remembrance Day. This is as far back as I can remember. We've always stopped on Remembrance Day, a moment of silence. People could have their own personal prayers, and then we would hear the prayers from chaplains, bishops, people of all religions and races. It's a very, open thing. As far back as I can remember, the prayers as well have always been very, protective of the fact that, people have other beliefs and they're not everybody is a Christian. And I've noticed over the years that, yes, they keep it very, general, out of respect for these people, who have other beliefs and believe in their own religions, gods, what have you. And they've always been very respectful for this. And I've noticed that Christians for a long time have always been respectful for this. But there are actually these chaplains in Canada in the military. While the dimension of prayer may occupy a significant place for some of our members, we do not all pray in the same way. For example, or for some, prayer does not play a role in their lives, says the October 11th directive obtained by the Epoch Times. Therefore, it is essential for chaplains to adopt a sensitive and inclusive approach when publicly addressing military members, says the directive signed by the Chaplain General, Brigadier General Guy Belzel. I don't know how to pronounce that. But I looked up the role here because I wasn't sure what this is all about here. So the chaplain, the Chaplain General is a senior chaplain in non-church organizations such as the British and Canadian armies, and is responsible for the supervision of chaplains, including religious services and ceremonies representing the Christian faith in that organization, and providing pastoral care and support within the organization. Their role is a religious role, and this is the thing. In this whole approach to being more sensitive to other people, why is there no sensitivity towards Christians and their belief? I really don't understand this. Now, personally, I was raised Christian, and I was always taught to respect other people's beliefs and the way other people see the world and the way they want to, worship God or not worship God. Largely, as an adult, I'm not a very religious person, but I do carry these values in my life to, respect other people. And the big thing that's being left out of this whole respect equation is respect for Christians and their values. And this is being trampled on in this case here. In practice, this means that a chaplain, a padre, as they're commonly known in the ranks, cannot recite from the Bible or allude to God while participating in ceremonies and public functions. An active military chaplain who requested anonymity to avoid reprisals told the Epoch Times, instead, the spiritual reflection, in quotes, must be inclusive in nature and respectful of the religious and spiritual diversity of Canada, the directive says. The move is a part of a larger cultural change process in the Canadian Armed Forces implemented by the Liberal government, which aims to put principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the core of this organization. Where again is the inclusion and equality, diversity for Christians in this whole thing? And this is a long-standing tradition. And again, if people don't want to participate, and even if they're being completely inclusive in the language of their prayers, people don't want to participate in that. They don't necessarily have to participate. This is what's absolutely ridiculous about this whole thing. And even Pierre Poilievre decided to weigh in on this on Twitter. He says, our veterans don't have a prayer under Trudeau. And yeah, I mean, nobody has a prayer under Trudeau. Our economy doesn't have a prayer. Nobody has a prayer under Trudeau, but especially in this case with veterans. Now his government is banning Muslim, Jewish, and Christian military chaplains from praying at Remembrance Day ceremonies. I will reverse this insanity when I am Prime Minister. And this is in response to an article from the Toronto Sun. I'm going to get into a bit from that article in just a moment. But yeah, so this goes across the board. It's not just Christians, it's Muslims and Jewish people of the Muslim and Jewish faiths can't have chaplains read out prayers to people on Remembrance Day. Now, people, fought and died for this country. People are continuously serving in our military service, risking their life, ultimate sacrifice, and you want to remove this from the service. This is just, it's gross. It really is. Getting into this, this is from Gunter at the Toronto Sun. We will always pray for those who fought for us, of course. If you attend an official Remembrance Day ceremony next month at your local cenotaph or Royal Canadian Legion branch, you're in for a surprise if the Armed Forces chaplain presiding says a prayer. Why would you be in surprise? Well, they're not allowed to say particular language, Christian or religious language. This is ridiculous. That's right. You should be shocked if an Army, Navy, or Air Force Padre says a prayer at a Remembrance Day ceremony. According to exclusive from the online news service, the Epoch Times, an October 11th memo was sent to all armed forces chaplains by Chaplain General Brigadier Guy, instructs them to avoid religious prayers at all official functions. Like, what do we even say to this? What do we even say to this? Especially for most people, this is a religious function, and they are a religious party to this whole thing. It's just so bizarre, but not when you see what Trudeau is all about. These are the words from Justin Trudeau. Christians are the worst part of Canadian society. This is a quote from Trudeau from back on March 28th, 2017. I thought you couldn't get worse. Trudeau restricts prayers in the armed forces, says Freedom Lover on Twitter. Now, I had to do some research to find out where the quote came from. This was an article from back in 2018 posted by CBC News, saying Trudeau is asking religious Canadians to betray their conscience for federal funding. And it was really interesting how the premise of this article goes. Now, the case in point here was a case where they were actually getting religious institutions that wanted to get federal funding for, summer jobs, things like this, that they would have to tick a box in that said that they're for the reproductive rights of women. And what does that mean? It's abortion rights. This is what they're saying, you have to tick this box or you won't get the funding. Now, the way this article reads out is really interesting. Thousands of years ago, before Christians could practice their faith legally, they often faced persecution from the Roman government. This is getting into that whole thing. How many times a day do you think about Rome? If you don't know that meme, look it up. It is a thing. If captured, however, a suspected Christian could avoid punishment by performing a simple sacrifice dedicated to the emperor. To stay on the authorities' good side, some Christians crossed their fingers. I didn't even know that this was where this came from. A concealed symbol of their true allegiance to Jesus, and complied with the government's request. They rationalized that a coerced physical action doesn't compromise their true belief. Most early Christians disagree with this proposition. They felt that that truth had set them free. They would not betray the truth. Today, Christians in Canada, especially those ascribing to a more traditional faith, are being asked to cross their fingers and comply with a government decree This time, in this contemporary case, though, it's a bit of money, not their lives, hanging in the balance. And again, this is a youth summer jobs, funding and grants that were given out. And Trudeau's government decided to put this in there to say that they must agree, ticking a box on an electronic form that says that they respect charter rights, including women's rights and women's reproductive rights. What does this have to do with summer jobs? Nothing. And this is what's really ridiculous in all of this. Now, where did this quote come from? This quote here: Christians are the worst part of Canadian society. Well, I found this buried in an article here. It was an article here. Again, links in the description down below so you can go read these things for yourself. But Justin Trudeau: Christians are the worst part of Canadian society. According to a clause introduced by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, pro-life Christians are barred from federal fundings unless they support a woman's right to an abortion. Now, Trudeau met with a pastor, Pastor Steve Long, a Canadian Baptist minister, and had a meeting with him. Now, this is where the quote comes from. I have met with Justin Trudeau 3 times, said Pastor Steve Long, a Christian Baptist minister. Sadly, my last meeting with him was in his office. Was very disappointing. He told me that evangelical Christians are the worst part of Canadian society. Trudeau's enmity towards Christians is solely against evangelicals. Canada under Trudeau has also become a very unwelcome place for Christians who flee from persecution in the Middle East. Over 30,000 Syrian refugees at the time of this article was written, because this is back in 2017, 2018. This many Syrian refugees were brought to Canada in an expedited manner and found themselves immediately taken care of by the Trudeau government. In the meantime, mass deletion of particular individuals, sorry for the language here, it's YouTube, to the point of another bad word, getting rid of all of those people, of Christians, has occurred within a number of Islamic nations. Trudeau has not breathed a word about the situation. Government assistance for the victims has been casual and minimal. So this is, obviously the sentiment from a lot of people in the religious communities around Canada, saying that, it's a little bit lopsided, the support from Justin Trudeau. But this is where we're at. And this is, Justin Trudeau is losing support all over the place. And this is something that's along the lines of his ideological battle against, what is it? Is it against Christians? Is it against just the old values of Canada? Many, the Christians were largely the makeup of Canadian society. Not a lot of dry eyes in the PMO when churches were being burned down in previous years, and when he would come out in support of protests for particular groups, but not other particular groups, and it's really shown tiresome to the Canadian public. And well, you can see it in the poll numbers. Here we have the poll numbers coming from 338 Canada, showing that if there is an election tomorrow, these are likely the numbers. The Conservatives are really surging in the polls. But we'll have to see. If there's an election tomorrow, that may be the case, because or it may not be the case, because even in this article here that I cited, it says the article, the author of this article even pontificates about polling. He says, perhaps the truth will be revealed once Justin Trudeau is removed from office, which according to current polls is likely to be the case come October 2019 election. Yeah, that doesn't say a lot of good. It's not very hopeful in this case here. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this whole story, and what you'll be doing if you hear prayers that are or no prayers during the next Remembrance Day. Will you be saying a prayer yourself? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.